Did she say, I'm a famous YouTuber?
Not at the beginning. It was very brief. It was kind of vague, and I think intentionally so. And she just said, we're looking for somebody to help with our team and manage the house and just some maintenance. And we have a new house that we're renting, and it's a little bit bigger than what we're used to. I didn't understand at that time that it was a huge mansion in Bel Air.
Let's go.
Elena Brown is a 25-year-old TikToker and grad student at the University of Miami, where she is studying to get her MBA. In her side hustle, she posts about the quirky ways she likes to eat her food, especially candy and sweets. She's doing something right because in just 3 years, Elena has amassed a following of over 260,000 followers on TikTok. And she's inked deals with top brands like M&M's, Starburst, and Burger King. Elena, welcome to This Magic Life.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to get into this. I love your story so much, Elena,
Thank you.
because it proves that serendipity and magic can happen to us at any moment, even in the midst of a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, and even during a lockdown. Even when it looks like the world is coming to an end, as it certainly did for just about all of us. I want our viewers and our listeners to know that in a little bit, Elena is actually going to do what she does so well for her followers on TikTok. And that is she's going to showcase a couple of her recent faves. Actually, I think one of them is going to go way back to the very beginning, her first viral post. Later in the episode, so you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. So take us back to the spring of 2020, Elena.
Yes.
You were a student.
Yes.
Sorry. I was just going to say you were a student at UCLA. And what was going on in your life? We know what was going on in the world. Were you scared or worried about your future?
Yes. So I was a student at UCLA, and I was actually graduating in 2020 during the pandemic. And I had no idea what my next step was going to be, what my job was going to be. I didn't have anything lined up. And I grew up in New York, so I was really far from my family in Los Angeles. And so I ended up driving food for Postmates and delivering food because I didn't know what my next move was going to be. And I was terrified. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. And it just so happens that without a graduation, I had a magical moment where I had a job opportunity in Los Angeles, and I gave up the driving of food and delivering for Postmates, and I got a really exciting opportunity. And though I was scared,
Let me ask you about that,
yes,
because sometimes it can seem, and especially during the pandemic, it can seem like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. How did you keep your spirits up, and where were you job searching? Because everything had to be remote.
exactly. Yes. So I had a job profile up on every single website. I had on Indeed, I had on LinkedIn, and I also had a profile up on a site called care.com, which, if you're not familiar, has different opportunities for care for pets, for elders, for homes. And I was applying to different jobs every single day while I was delivering food. And I got a message one day on care.com from a famous YouTuber, coincidentally enough. And she was looking for a house manager for a content house of YouTubers in Los Angeles. And upon receiving that message, I did not know who she was. She was using her real name and not her stage name. So at the beginning, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I ended up replying to the message, and we had a conversation, and I was living very close to the content house, which was in Bel Air, and UCLA is right next door in Westwood. So it was the close proximity that was kind of luck, and that magical moment that put us together and linked us up on the job site. And I went to the house, and I can continue talking about my story, but it was just meant to be, clearly.
So you get this DM from this woman, this young woman who's using her real name. Did she say, "I'm a famous YouTuber"?
Not at the beginning. No.
How did she describe what the opportunity was?
It was very brief, it was kind of vague, and I think intentionally so, and she just said, "We're looking for somebody to help with our team and manage the house and just some maintenance, and we have a new house that we're renting, and it's a little bit bigger than what we're used to." I didn't understand at that time that it was a huge mansion in Bel Air, and she said, "Yeah, we're just looking for some help around the house." So, with the positive attitude that I had, I said, "Well, I have to explore this opportunity further and see what this is all about," because at this point I didn't have any other leads, and I was really excited to get somebody approach me and to get that opportunity to go and interview with this new team and see what it would bring.
So you show up for your interview,
I show up for my interview.
and we should say that the woman, her name is
Lizzie Capri.
Lizzie Capri.
Yes.
She was working with, and I guess dating around that time, somebody by the name of Carter Scherer,
Yes.
who is part of Team RAR,
Yes.
which stands for Rare and Ridiculous. I didn't happen to know who he was, but 10 million people today know who he is because they're
Yes.
followers of his on YouTube. So you show up at this mansion in
Mansion.
Bel Air.
Yes, and there are rumors that the mansion once was Frank Sinatra's home, and it's a very historical home in the area. Several famous actors have lived there. And so it was a huge gate, the biggest gate I've ever seen in my life. And the hedges were so tall, I couldn't even see the house at the beginning. And so I let them know that I was there, and then I just see the gate start to go back and reveal this beautiful, insane property and house. And I just thought to myself, what am I getting myself into? Where have I just arrived? What was this message I got on care.com? It just seemed like like a moment that was meant to happen. And that's where I started to see the magic, is when the house was revealed and I said, I need to explore this and I need to get this. And went into the house and I met with Liz and Carter, and we just really hit it off and clicked from the beginning. We did a walkthrough of the entire property, and I got a tour of the house, which was super cool to see, and just a fabulous pool and tennis court in the backyard. And the next day they hired me, and I was,
Oh,
yeah, it
God.
was a pretty quick turnaround, and we just really clicked, and it was a good personality fit with the team. And I started working for them that next week.
Oh my god. So you are what, 21 at this
At
time?
this point,
22?
yes.
Alright, and how old are Carter and Lizzie?
They're about 6 years older than me. So
Okay,
I
so
was
we're talking about, like, they're fellow Gen Zers. They're like your peeps.
yes.
And what was the job? Take us into your responsibilities as house manager for Team RAR.
Yeah, so at the beginning, I mean, the role had developed so much, and I was able to take on a lot more stuff and more roles in the house and wear many hats, which was super exciting. But originally, I was just keeping the house in order. I was organizing things. I was helping them with their videos and social media. And I kind of was bouncing around and just filling in wherever they needed help with anything. And then that ultimately turned into the house management, where I took care of all the vendors, the maintenance, if we had any guests visiting. I was kind of the mom and the host of the house, where if anyone came in that door, I was taking care of them, I was feeding them, I was having them, stay and collaborate. And we created so much fun content during the pandemic. And it was like our COVID family. Honestly, I wasn't able to go home to New York. And so we were there every day together, being creative, and everyone was a young, fun spirit. And we were able to make really awesome viral YouTube content, TikTok content. And this was still before I started my own TikTok. So,
Yes, and we're gonna talk about that in just a few minutes, but when you started working for Team RAR, you had just graduated from UCLA with a sociology and a public affairs major.
yes.
Did you have any idea what you were going to do with that degree, Elena?
I had no idea, honestly. And I have a lot of different interests. I was always very into marketing and social media and also food and beverage. And I wanted to go into business, but I didn't know exactly what that first job out of college would look like at that point. And I was a bit lost. And so I took this opportunity that presented itself, but was really unsure how that would shape itself into forming my career and the start of my career after graduating.
We're in graduation season right now, and there is so much pressure on students to land a job that is going to sound impressive to their friends and to their family, to pay back their student loans, and hopefully to build valuable skills. I could see a lot of parents thinking, working as a house manager for YouTubers, maybe not the best use of your 4-year degree, and worrying if it was their child, like, how's it going to advance their career journey as a young professional? What do you want to say to those parents?
Yeah, so my parents were always very supportive in my journey. And I know a lot of my friends in high school, their parents wouldn't even let them apply to schools that were on the other side of the country or farther than in different time zone. And my parents were always very supportive of me going to UCLA. It was always my top choice. And I wanted to go to LA and live in LA and pursue that dream. And when I got in, they said, go. And it was really, I mean, I was really grateful to have such a supportive family and for them to allow me to go across the country and live 3 hours behind them in New York. And sometimes it might be hard to catch up with them and have a phone call because of the time difference, but they knew that that's what I wanted and that's what would make me happy. So they were very supportive in that. And I'm really, really thankful for them because I was able to live in LA for 6 years and I had always wanted that. So it's just about taking the risk and just having a supportive system. Yeah.
How did they respond when you told them, I'm going to be a house manager for a bunch of YouTubers? You probably have never heard of them, but they're really popular.
Yeah. So my mom, she's kind of a momager type, and we're very, very close, very similar personality. And she was like, "What? Who are you working? I need to look them up right now on YouTube. What's their channels?" And she's hopping on to do her investigative work and see who I'm even talking about because Team RAR does have a younger audience. And at this time, they were doing a lot of pranks and challenges and family friendly content. So I was a bit old for it. I don't have any younger siblings who would have known them. So my mom was like, I need to see whose house you're at and I need to see what you're going to every day, and had to really do her deep dive to make sure that it was legitimate. And she just said, go for it. Take the risk, listen to your intuition. And if this is what's meant to be, you never know what can come from it and how you can grow. It's your first job out of college. And she told me to just do a good job. And if you show and prove yourself to this team of YouTubers, that you're going to get, a lot more responsibility in the role and take on other tasks. And that's exactly what happened.
So she actually said to you, Elena, listen to your intuition.
Yes.
And what was your intuition telling you?
It was that I needed to prove myself in this role. And like I said, and just to make a name for myself and really do the best job that I could do and learn other skills that I had not even tackled before. And so when that, job came to do the maintenance of the house and work on projects of renovations with contractors and other sort of skills that I had never done before. I mean, this was all new to me. And even the social media realm and with TikTok and being able to host all of these different TikTok stars to come over and collaborate and have a legitimate film shoot with a ton of, behind the scenes work and cameras and props. And I just threw myself into it, and I'm always a go-getter and I'm always down for, the next thing and what's going to happen and just to make the best of my day. And so every day in this role was different as well. I mean, I showed up to work and I didn't know what was in store. And I think that was so exciting to me because I'm not one who could have the same repetitive, monotonous job every single day. So showing up to the house one day, it was hot pink. We painted the house hot pink, which the HOA of the neighborhood was not very happy about. And then the next day I would show up and there were snakes in the Lamborghini that he had as part of his car collection. And the next day there was trampolines that were stacked 11 trampolines high, which is about 33 feet high of trampolines, and they were jumping off into the pool. So the stunts and the things that and the pranks that we pulled off kept it very exciting. And that's what really motivated me to keep going and to take on more tasks and help run that house.
How do you think the 3 years that you spent with Team RAR influenced you in ways that you hadn't expected, and
Yes.
influenced in particular your own career journey?
Yes. So I think being around this group of really creative people inspired me to start my TikTok during the pandemic. And it was becoming very popular. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to post on TikTok. So it took me a long time to build up the courage to finally just start posting and just have an idea and a roll with it because I was overthinking what my idea should be. And the original idea I had for my TikTok wasn't even what it is now. It was a completely different concept that was able to evolve into me eating on camera. But they were able to inspire me to want to pursue social media and also a career in business because their YouTube and social media enterprise is an extremely successful business and still is today. And it's been for 5 or 6 years now. So to see them have such success with their own business made me really want to go back to business school and perhaps one day have my own business.
Yeah, and you're just finishing your first year of business school, so
Yes.
go you.
Thank you.
How do you think your mindset about what you study undergrad, what you major in, influences your career journey, was affected
Mhm.
by the way that you started? Because I know that Carter's background is in engineering. I
Yeah.
don't know about Lizzie, but what advice do you want to share for our student audience about like how not to freak out about the fact that they studied the wrong thing or they think they may have studied the wrong thing?
Yeah, so it's actually funny you say that because I went into UCLA undecided and I didn't know what area of study I wanted to pursue. I then that was sophomore year. I applied to the communications major at UCLA, which was a highly competitive major, and I said I want to do this, and I didn't get in. I did not get into the communications major at UCLA. And so at that point I was pretty upset and I found that sociology had a lot of similar requirements and classes as did the communications major and I didn't know anything about sociology. I didn't know what it was and I just realized that they had some similarities and I talked to my counselor and I was like, is there any way I can apply again? What can I do? And I was having a bit of a, meltdown. And she said, the sociology major is very similar, very solid. Like I think you would like it. Try it out. So got this advice from her, and of course consulted with my mom. And I said, "Should I do sociology? What do I do? This is not what I came here to do." And she said, "Again, just try it. Listen to your gut." She's very with the intuition thing. My mom is very on it. So she said, "Try it. See if you like the classes, and if you have to switch, you can always switch your major. That is an option." And so I said, "Okay, let me give it a chance and see if I like it." And then I committed to the sociology major and I never looked back and I never switched it. And I ended up loving it and loving the classes. And I studied human behavior and romantic relationships and just so many interesting things that we experience in our everyday lives that I ended up loving it. And yeah, minoring in public affairs. And it ended up working out just fine. And it was not what I intentionally wanted to study. And it all worked out. And it also, impacted my career. And I think my social skills, my people skills, being able to read people and really understand social situations is what the sociology major really, what I took from that and how I use that in my everyday life and my career.
Do you think that majors really matter in terms of how someone starts their career, Elena?
I think if you're on a track where you're going to medical school and that's what you want to do, I would say perhaps the major does matter. But if you're not sure what you want to do and what your job is going to be out of college, and I don't think it matters. I really don't. I think you can use the skills that you learn and even just beyond the classroom, the social skills that you learn living alone for the first time, being away from your family and having the independence that you have in college, as well as the other activities and clubs and things you might be involved with on campus really shape you as a person and really work on your independence. And that will ultimately be a great skill and lots of skills that you can use in your everyday career life and your job and your social social lives. And I don't think the major really matters.
I love that you talked about some of the things that you do outside the classroom because in looking at your LinkedIn profile, it talks about how you had been a manager for your UCLA women's golf team.
Yes.
So I just thought, "Oh my god, here you had managerial skills managing a group of people." I'm sure some of the various activities that they did.
Hmm.
I could talk about that. And you also had 3 internships, 1 in PR, 1 in marketing, and
I
then
had a
I
fashion
forget what
design
the 3rd one,
internship.
and the fashion design.
Yes.
Yes. So how do you think those activities helped you when
Yeah.
you started Team Roar and then eventually started your own TikTok?
I mean, originally I did have an interest in fashion. I thought I was going to be a fashion designer, and obviously that's not where the path I'm on right now, and that's okay. Even if I haven't had a reinventing of myself yet, I've changed what I wanted to do in my 25 years of, being here. So I originally, yeah, fashion, and then now it changed to social media. And I think all of these different types of internships is really important to see what your passions are and to really be passionate about what you're doing and really like what you do. And I think that's just so important. And the skills that I learned working in these internships, they were in New York City. And I remember commuting into New York City and taking the subway by myself and going to these internships in these huge high rise buildings in the city and showing up as a high schooler, with my little outfit, my little bag, and just really taking the city on by storm. And just that, working in a huge office with all these adults around me who'd been working in the industry for how many years, it really allowed me to have confidence in myself and in my work and with what I was doing. And from a young age, my parents always said, go to the city by yourself, do what you're going to do. And allowed me to have that independence, allowed me to go across the country for school. And I think doing that from a young age and growing up in New York City and navigating that has really shaped me as a person. And then even with the UCLA golf team, I was managing the team for a couple of years and grew up playing golf as well. And so I was really passionate about the sport. And I managed all of their, logistics and their team travel. And we hosted a couple of tournaments every year that I was in charge of and helped, plan and travel and all those logistics. And so that was the managerial experience I had, but it was also something I loved is golf. So tying that in, I was able to use those skills from the New York City internship days to the golf team and be able to apply those in the YouTube house at Team RAR.
Do you think that that actually helped impress them that you were the right person for the position?
I think it was just how I presented myself and my confidence and the ideas that I, bounced off them, even in my interview. And we were doing a walkthrough of the house. And I remember pointing out certain things. Oh, we could do something here, and just to have suggestions and have creative ideas. And I think they saw that in my personality and my confidence, and that it's not a fake it till you make it kind of thing, but it was my first job out of college. I didn't have any legitimate work experience besides internships and working for the school golf team, which, not to say that those weren't anything significant, but I had never had a salaried job, and this is my first thing. So and they had all worked before for 5 or so years before starting YouTube. And so I really had to present myself in a way that showed them that even though I might not have the technical experience, I can take this on, I can learn, I can grow, and I can handle it, and I can manage it. And that's all.
It sounds like you were building up your kind of courage
Mhm.
and building up your I don't wanna say that you weren't afraid or maybe feeling things that were fearful, but the courage to kinda push through the fear
Mhm.
of the unknown and step into things that were unfamiliar to you.
Yeah, I've always been a risk taker, and I won't let that show. Even if I am scared or I am nervous, I don't want that to be perceived by my employers. And so I just always put on a brave face and was ready to take on the next day, whatever that might bring. If they were driving a car through the living room, if we had to figure out how that was going to work. And like you mentioned, Carter was an engineering major, and he applied his engineering skills into building these trampoline towers that were actually engineered with scaffoldings and support systems. Like the engineering thought process that went into a lot of his videos is how he applied his major into YouTube. So that's also interesting to
It's
note.
crazy, and he built like a Lego
Yes, I mean, Lego
city or
houses
something
with
like a
multiple
Lego
floors.
yeah.
Yes, and so that was actually really thought through and engineered, and that's how he applied his four-year degree, into YouTube content.
I love that. So, what inspired you to start a TikTok focusing on eating candy?
Yeah, so originally that wasn't my idea, and I had at this point only lived in New York and LA my entire life, and I wanted to do a battle of the restaurants on the West and the East Coasts. So I originally started my TikTok called Battle of the Bite, and I was reviewing restaurants and comparing restaurants in New York and LA. And I started posting consistently, and nothing really happened from it. My mom, the advice she gave me was just to keep going, keep trying, be consistent. And one day I randomly posted a video of me eating a Kit Kat bar in my own sort of unique way. And I was saying in the video, does anybody else eat their Kit Kat bars like this, or is it just me? And I showed how I ate the Kit Kat bar layer by layer around the edges, which I can show you later. And that video had gotten the most views I had gotten on any video so far.
How many views did you get?
At this point, it was about 10,000 views, which was a lot for
Wow.
me. Because
Yes.
the other videos I had gotten at the beginning were 50 to 100 views, or very, very low views. And so I said, this one
Mhm.
is, at 6,000, then it hit 10,000, and I thought, I'm onto something. And I posted a couple other videos of me trying other generic American candies that everyone's familiar with, Snickers and Twix and Reese's, and eating them in an unconventional way. And I just saw the views go up and up from there. And that completely changed my entire concept for my social media platform. And I started eating candy. And I've always had a sweet tooth, but I didn't realize that I could turn my passion for sweets into a real TikTok page and have it grow from there, and then to be able to actually live in a real life candy land like I do now. So it was very,
And to make money
yes,
from
yes.
eating candy.
Yeah.
So, take us behind the scenes, Elena, of the process of creating a video. Do you have like regular days for filming and editing? How does that
Yeah,
work?
I like to film on the weekends and when I have more time and it's more relaxing and I have to get all ready, I have to do my makeup. I'm actually wearing some gummy bear earrings and a Candyland sweater right now. I can kind of show
Ooh,
this is
yeah,
my Candyland
so cute.
sweater. So getting ready is honestly part of the process and I always have to have fun nails on because eating on
Oh,
camera,
yeah.
you have to
Oh, I love those.
it's
Yeah.
very close in your face. You always have to have
Yes.
fun nails going on. So getting ready and
Yep.
picking the outfit and the bright colors is half the process. And I always like to wear something fun and bright and colorful on camera.
And there's your fashion. Your love of fashion is coming
It all
in.
ties together. It all exactly. Yeah. So the outfits are always super fun and rainbow. And I get sent boxes and boxes of candy. At this point, I do. When I first started, I had to go out and buy different candies to try. But now I have a stockpile essentially of candy in my apartment. And all my cabinets are filled with different candies from around the world. And so I have to kind of see what is drawing my attention that day and what I want to actually try. And I recently did a series out of an ice cream cone, a giant ice cream cone filled with candy I have never tried before. So that was kind of my series that I was
That was
doing.
super cute. Yeah, you were, like, reaching in and pulling out a candy and then going through your whole
Yeah, and just
yeah.
yeah, being able to eat it in my own unique way. And that might be sort of controversial. And people always comment, that's not how you eat it. That's not how you're supposed to do it. And I always say it tastes better that way. So that's how, yeah, a lot of engagement with people questioning my methods.
So I know you picked out a couple
I
candies
did.
to demo for
Yes.
us, one of which goes back to the Kit Kat, the
Yes.
famous Kit Kat video. I will turn the microphone over to you.
Okay, so I do have a little Kit Kat bar here, and I did want to show how I eat a Kit Kat bar because that was the first video that I ever posted that got the most amount of views. So, how I eat a Kit Kat bar. So, I'll say my tagline is "Let's bite into it." So, I'm going to eat around the edges of the Kit Kat bar, and we're going to eat layer by layer.
And is this something that you did normally? Like, that was your go-to whenever you had a Kit
Yes.
Kat bar, you would
Mhm,
always do it that way?
mhm.
Okay.
Yep. It tastes better that way. There's no other way to describe it. So I
It's like deconstructing it.
I deconstruct my candy. Exactly. So I've eaten around all the edges, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna eat layer by layer of the different wafers. So, as you can see, I'm
Wow.
breaking it apart.
How long does it take you to develop that level of sensitivity, Elena, that you are taking off a single layer and not breaking them or
You have to be very careful when you do it. And I've had a couple times where things have broken and not gone as planned, and I've just rolled with it. And I was like, "Whoops, that just got everywhere." It is what it is. And I like to be
Right.
very much myself and very natural with the
Yep.
process. So, yeah. And then taking off all the layers.
Mm. And I want our viewers to know that I did call her out on the fact that it's a mini
It is a mini.
and not a full Kit Kat, but to her defense, Elena was like, she can't eat a large Kit Kat every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah, especially if
Yeah.
I'm filming so many videos in a row and I love to sample everything. I mean, let me
Yeah.
just say the dentist loves me. I have a
Oh,
special
no.
prescription toothpaste that I use. I don't get cavities anymore. Um, so it's been really nice. It's been really nice.
But you were getting them as a result of doing all of this?
As a kid, I always loved candy. So as
Oh,
a
as a
kid, I
kid.
always got
Okay.
cavities, but I found out that there is a really strong prescription toothpaste you can use, and therefore I have not gotten a cavity even with all of my candy sampling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, hopefully you brush right after.
Yes, yeah, and there's even chewing gum now that you can pop in if you're not on a if I'm out filming at a, restaurant or bakery or something, there's gum
Oh,
that you can use, that helps prevent cavities because it's, yeah, I don't know what
yeah.
it is, but it does help if you
It's a
chew it right after.
hazard of the job.
Exactly. So, yeah, you
Yeah.
just gotta make those adjustments and it's all good.
So you've got another
I
candy
do.
that you're gonna demo, and I also wanna point out you do this thing with, like yes, like, no like, is that something that your viewers want? They wanna hear the noises?
So ASMR is very trendy, and I don't necessarily do ASMR content, but people do love the satisfying noises. So I try to incorporate that sometimes in my content. And there are pages on TikTok that are dedicated to ASMR, and people will play with the microphone, they'll whisper and things. That's not really my niche, but sometimes I do incorporate with the nails and the noises, and people like to hear the openings and the pouring of the candy or M&Ms pouring out, and it is a satisfying noise to some people.
Pouring it into a bowl. I saw
Yes.
you did that in one
Yeah, with my
video, like,
M&M
and
brand
moved it
deal that
around.
I did for
Yeah.
the Super Bowl
Yeah.
this year. Yeah, I had the pouring of the M&Ms, which was super exciting. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, what was the other candy?
So these are one of the trendiest, most viral candies on TikTok right now. They're mango gummy peelers. Let me see if I can kind of show. And you can peel the center of the mango out from the gummy shell. So it's like an actual mango. So I can show you guys how this is done. The gummy mango peelers. They look like an actual mango. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
So if I peel the outside, see, on TikTok, I get
Mm.
to cut the videos a little shorter.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And my facial
Ah,
expression is part of it as well, you know? So you can peel the inner, and they're different textures. I don't know if you can tell, but
yes.
I peel the outside shell,
Ooh.
and it's very sticky, the center of the mango,
Mm.
and this is the outer shell, and it's super fun. And I love to play with my food. And this is the most on brand candy I think I've ever tried because it's set up to be deconstructed, right?
Ooh,
So
yeah.
then I'll eat the center first, lick the
Mm.
fingers,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's how it's done.
Exactly, and you always say, as you mentioned, "Let's bite into it,"
Exactly.
before you begin your video.
Mhm.
What's been your most popular video that you've done?
So it was actually a video that I was not in, so that's great. It was a place in Huntington Beach, California called Polar Playground, and they make these cotton candy masterpieces where they form cotton candy into different characters. So I went down and it was the coolest place ever. Like if I was a kid, this would be my dream. I'd want to go there every single day. But they're artists, honestly, and they shape the cotton candy into characters like Cookie Monster, Eeyore, Pikachu, and they form the cotton candy and they're huge. I mean, they're huge cotton candy masterpieces. And so I did a video showing some of those works of art, and that got over 7 million views.
What?
Yeah, so that was my most
7
viral
million.
video.
Oh my God. What do you think would surprise people about being a content creator?
I think people don't realize how much work actually goes into it. When from start to finish, it is quite a process. And if you're working with a brand and doing a brand deal, the talking stage, the negotiations, the contracts, before you even get to the fun filming aspect of it can take weeks to really get a video even on the calendar planned ready to start to film. And then once you get to the actual filming day, like I said, you have to do your makeup, your hair, you have to get ready, you have to be camera ready. And that takes a long time. And then filming it, you might have to do a couple of takes. And then the post production aspect is also a process of editing, and I edit all my own videos. So to, make the time from start to finish, it's quite time consuming. And even if a brand has a couple of comments, you have to refilm something and go back and get ready all again a week later when they get feedback from a brand. That's also happened to me before. So we
Oh.
make it look really easy sometimes, but from start to finish, it's way more time consuming than you might realize.
And so you have to share the video before it airs
Sometimes.
with the
Mhm.
brands.
Yeah, it
Okay.
depends what the brand is looking for, but if they have really specific, so for Burger King, for example, they had really specific criteria of ways to call the restaurant and things you had to say and certain terminology. And so I had to edit a couple things like for that brand deal, for example.
Do you feel that the skills that you're building, whether it's editing videos, filming them, negotiating deals with brands, are transferable? Do you think that these are skills that you're gonna be able to use after you graduate from grad school?
100%. And I think at this point, there's such different skills, but since I've learned so many different things, I can really apply that to different jobs in my future career. And with the negotiation skills, it's I think that's really applicable for business. And being in business school now, I could see myself being a manager for talent or for a social media influencer because I've done that for myself by myself. And I considered hiring a manager or something like that, but my momager, as I mentioned, she and I, she's helped me with some of the deals and really helped, pave the path and show me the ropes on that one. And we've just kind of figured it out. And it's about not being afraid to fail either. And when you're negotiating, you might negotiate high, negotiate low, and you really have to do it a couple times to realize what the sweet spot is. And each brand is different. And doing it again and again and again, you'll get more comfortable and be able to realize that this is kind of the range that's, appropriate for this industry. And it's really just trial and error. And if you fail and you lose a brand deal and maybe you don't get that brand deal, it's just you got to try again and keep going and do more outreach because next time you're going to get it one time.
So how have you landed these deals? And have you had deals go sideways because maybe you asked for too much or
For M&Ms and Starburst, which I actually did in the past couple months, they approached
Woo!
me. So that was super exciting. And they had seen my videos online. I had made a Starburst video a couple years back. And so they actually reached out to me, which was, I saw the email and I didn't think it was real. I was so excited because I've always loved those candy brands growing up. But then a lot of times, if there's a brand I really like or a local place that I want to work with, I'll do the outreach. And sometimes you don't know what they're thinking, right? So you might say a number that's way out of their range and they might say, "Oh, we can't do that." And you can come in and can do it for free for collaboration in exchange for product and for free food essentially. And sometimes they'll negotiate down. You just have to meet in the middle and it is kind of a game, but as you get better with practice, you get better at the game.
How is the money? Is it enough that you're, like, able to pay rent or, buy your groceries or, I don't know, save up for something, help pay for grad school?
Yeah.
How would you describe
I
that?
would describe it as inconsistent and, full transparency. I'm always very transparent with all the social media stuff. It really can vary month to month. It depends, how many deals you might land that month. And a lot of times it's better at the beginning of the year. So January, February, when budgets reset and brands have their budget to allocate to influencers. When you get toward November, December, the holidays roll around and they have already spent their entire social media budget for the year. It's a lot tougher during those months than it is the beginning of the year, in my experience. And sometimes, yes, it can pay rent. Sometimes it can. And it's a really good way to supplement while I'm in grad school and to help with different bills and to help with rent. And it's a good supplemental income. But currently, where I'm at, I could not do that full time if I was not in school.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. I'm guessing it's also made you really popular with your friends and neighbors.
Yeah, so I get sent so much candy that I'm constantly bringing it to different parties and events and having my friends try it on camera. And they're always super enthusiastic and want to try all the coolest, trendiest new candies and things. And, my building, I'll bring it to my front desk people, and it makes people pretty happy. And I do have some friends on my side because I bring them sweets.
Ah, love
I
it.
brought some sweets. I got some really cool toffee recently, all these different flavors of toffee.
Ooh.
And I brought it last night to a gathering and they were like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So it's always fun to see people trying it and having fun with it.
What would you say have been the 3 biggest lessons that you've learned from being in the TikTok trenches?
Yeah, I would say the first lesson is to not give up and not get frustrated, as hard as that is. If you see views go down, which they have been recently, um, it's really easy to beat yourself up about it and to overthink it and think, why is this happening to me? What can I do better? But to not give up and let yourself down, even if your content isn't performing where you want it to be, I would say is the first lesson. Second, I would say is just put yourself out there and do it, because I know a lot of people, even with myself, I was a little bit nervous and hesitant to just start posting and what are people going to think and what do I look like, and just really worried about what the response might be. So my second piece of advice would be to just do it. Like Nike, right? Just do it and start posting consistently, and you never know what's going to come of it. And then the third piece, oh, this is a good one to think of. Three different pieces of advice for TikTok. It would be to reach out to others in the community, I would say. And a lot of people of my close friends do not know how this works, what the experience is. And so I think it's really important to find a community of people who are going through the same things as you and to make friends that way and really reach out to other creators, perhaps who are in a similar niche as you. And so I've made a lot of really fun creator friends and we can ask each other questions. And I'm in a couple of group chats where people will ask for advice in the group chat and really have that community of people who can all relate to your experience. So I would say that would be the third piece, is the community.
Well, speaking of advice, we are, as I said, in the midst of graduation
Mhm.
season, and you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of students who are gonna be out of school for the summer, and many of them are gonna be starting internships, some
Yeah.
for the first time. What kind of advice can you offer them, Elena, about how to crush their internships and really stand out from the competition?
Yeah, I would say be bold, take risks, do the best job you can do, and try to take on more at the beginning and really show your skill set, and don't be afraid to fail, as I mentioned, and you'll learn so much from those experiences, and it's okay. That happens to everybody. It's happened to me, and you just grow from it and you move on and you will learn from that experience, and just, yeah, be bold, go for it. Be confident. And I think that's what I've followed in my career journey, and it's led me, this far, and it's been great.
I have 2 final questions for
Okay.
you, Elena. What can our listeners and our viewers do right now to become more magical, to experience more serendipity
Mhm.
in their lives?
I think try something that you've always wanted to try, but you've never done. You've never put yourself out there in maybe a vulnerable or uncomfortable position, but you've always wanted to do this thing. I think to do that would give you that serendipitous magical moment or feeling if you try something out of your comfort zone.
And why do you say that?
Because that's what I did, and that's what led me to where I am today. It's putting myself in a position that I had never been in before. And I was very nervous at the beginning. I didn't want to mess up. And I was so scared about what could happen. And then I realized that if I just went for it and tried it and put myself in that position, that would ultimately allow me to grow as a person and as, grow my career and take the next step.
Yeah. Final question. Looking back on your fun and very unique career journey so far, what do you think has been the secret to the magic that you have attracted
Mhm.
and experienced in your life?
I think it's the spirituality and the open-mindedness that I carry every day. And I'm a very positive person and I always have a good outlook in life. And I just never know where my next adventure awaits. And so I think just keeping that super open mind. And my mom always tells me this. She always uses the improv term, yes, and. And so if you just say yes, and then what? And what's next? Instead of saying no or no, but or yes, but there's something hindering you, right? If you say yes, and that'll take you so far where you can ultimately achieve anything you put your mind to, anything you want to pursue. Yes, and is the motto that I ultimately follow.
Ooh, I have chills. And when you said
Yeah.
spirituality, what is spirituality to you?
Yeah, I mean, we all had a spiritual phase during COVID, I think, where we had, our own awakenings in different ways. And I think just, yeah, the positivity mindset and just having, everything happens for a reason, right? And you never know what's next. So I think everything happens and it's meant to be that way. And whether it's a black magic moment, like you said, maybe that's a learning experience, or if it's that serendipitous moment, all of those things are supposed to happen, will happen. You just have to move on and keep on keeping on.
Love it. Amazing. Oh my gosh. So, where can viewers find you, Elena?
Yeah, so on TikTok, I am at Elena Be the Foodie.
Make sure to give Elena a follow. You will absolutely enjoy any video that you watch of hers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And this was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Elena, I want to thank you so much. And I want to wish you many, many more magical moments to come.
Let's go.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of This Magic Life. Our mission is to inspire you to stop fearing your future and start getting excited about all the serendipitous and magical opportunities that await you. Make sure to subscribe to This Magic Life on YouTube so you don't miss any new episodes. And for on-the-go listening, give us a follow wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. We absolutely love to get feedback from the This Magic Life community, so make sure to drop us a comment on YouTube or a 5-star review on Apple. And you can always find me on LinkedIn at Andrea Koppel, aka the Career Magic Maker. I can't wait to see you soon.